It's so close to home, and knowing how young, she was only 22.
Now on Denver 7 News at 5 a.m., a community will gather tonight to mourn after the violent death of a young woman who was closing up shop after work.
So that's 1,000 times further than the International Space Station, further than any human-rated spacecraft has ever gone before.
Yeah, high hopes headed for deep space this morning. The Artemis I launch set to happen that could eventually take humans back to the surface of the moon, and how Colorado is getting involved.
And happening right now, your morning commute could be a little smoother. The westbound lanes of the Central 70 project are officially back open after a weekend-long closure. That's getting us closer to the end of the project. Jason will talk about that more in just a moment.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on Denver 7 News. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Nicole Brady. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. We were all out pulling a plane for part of the weekend, Lisa. It was nice weather out there.
Yeah, it got pretty toasty in Broomfield early Saturday morning, but a great event. We'll have more about that coming up. As you step out the door here on this Monday morning, you're going to find some upper 50s to low 60s. Really pretty start to our day. Lots of sunshine expected out there. And it's going to be a pretty warm week. We're getting out the door early this morning with 60s, but we'll be at about 70 degrees by 10 o'clock. A good 10 degrees warmer here by early afternoon, right around 1. And then we're going to hit highs closer to 90 than to 80. Today, Denver 88, Erie 87, Parker this afternoon a high of 83, 70s for the mountains and foothills. Things are pretty dry right now. Coming up in a few minutes, we'll take a closer look at when we could get a few more thunderstorms here in town and how many days this week, Jason, we're going to hit that 90 degrees coming up in just a few minutes.
And overall, the drive looks pretty nice around town here for us this morning. We do have all lanes of I-70 reopened as you make your way through that new section, and that's good news. I was watching some of the webcams because unfortunately the closest camera that's actually working for us right now is back here at I-25. So you take a look at the camera and you're looking back this way. So this is the eastbound side. So this will be coming off of I-25 and going east towards the Coliseum. So the headlights are the folks that are coming through that area and going west, and all lanes are open. It's just the only camera that's working right now. But I looked at the webcam that they have set up over the weekend. You can see some of the good driving conditions through there right now, and it looks so much smoother. Take a look at the drive time. It's only 10 minutes through there right now, so nice and smooth. And the rest of the drive actually looks okay. There is one other problem for us. It's going to be over here by the airport, outbound on Pena Boulevard by Tower Road. A slight delay with a new crash out there.
New developments this morning after an unthinkable tragedy over the weekend. Friends and family in Greeley are grieving after 22-year-old Angie Vega was killed Friday night closing up at work.
There are now memorials growing in different parts of Greeley, including where Angie Vega worked and where her body was later found. You can see right here some of those memorials. I believe we have video. We actually talked to some people who showed up at those memorials over the weekend. They were telling us that they were shocked by the death. We spoke to the owner of a salon next to NOCO Nutrition where Angie Vega worked, and she said she can barely stomach what happened to her. Do we have that interview?
I have so much anger because I am a female. I am a mother. I am a daughter. I am a niece. It's just like, you know, she's a niece. She's a daughter. She's never gonna have kids. She's never gonna get married. And that's not fair.
It is horrible to think about. Police say Angie Vega was working at the NOCO Nutrition store, a fitness store, Friday night when she was closing up the shop. But they say the police were called to the store just before 8 and were told the employee was missing and that it looked like the business had been broken into. When they arrived, officers saw blood in the store and Angie's car was missing. A few hours later, the car was found near 71st and 20th, not far from the store with Angie's body inside. 24-year-old Marcus Vallejos is being held on first-degree murder and sexual assault charges, arrested for the crime. The memorial for Angie is happening between 6 and 8 tonight outside of the NOCO Nutrition store.
Well, all across the Denver metro, police responded to shootings over the weekend. In total, 10 people were shot in these 5 different incidents, all of them in Denver and Aurora here. 8 people were hurt and 2 people died. No arrests have been made yet in any of these shooting incidents.
Also, we are talking to the family of a man killed in Denver's Sunnyside neighborhood. There was a vigil last night to remember Tomas Jimenez. He was one of 4 people shot outside what neighbors say was a house party. It happened near West 42nd Avenue and North Clay Street just before 1:30 yesterday morning. His sister believes the party got out of control. When neighbors went to call 911, they reported hearing gunshots. Tomas, a woman, and 2 kids were shot. His sister wants whoever did this to know the damage they've done.
Something needs to happen with the gun laws. Too many men and young kids are dying, and it's the young kids that are having access to these guns. He wasn't a boy. He wasn't a 20 years old. He was a 41-year-old man who was living his life in his home, you know, doing what he thought was right to come out here.
If you know anything about what happened, give Denver Police or Metro Denver Crime Stoppers a call. You can remain anonymous.
The Artemis program is the beginning of the next era of what we have a history and a tradition of doing.
Yeah, a lot of excitement surrounding space exploration this morning. We're about 90 minutes away from the launch of the Artemis I mission as we take a live look from the Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral, Florida. And there are 2 major parts to this space technology. The new mega rocket, the orange there on the launch pad, and then the capsule on top of it. The Orion space capsule was built by Lockheed Martin right here in Colorado, and I had a chance to talk to a senior manager about the project. Any elements that you're looking at that the craft will have to deal with that it may be unexpected, that you're watching to see how the systems react?
Sure. Artemis I is a flight test. It's a test. We know we're going to learn something. We're not quite sure what we'll learn yet, but we're going to subject this spacecraft to the punishing environments of deep space. Some of the interesting things, it'll fly through the Van Allen radiation belts, which is a very punishing environment for the avionics, the flight computer systems. The navigation systems, this spacecraft is traveling 280,000 miles away. So that's 1,000 times further than the International Space Station, further than any human-rated spacecraft has ever gone before.
So the test flight is scheduled to last 6 weeks, 42 days. Artemis II then would carry astronauts on board. That would be in 2024. Artemis III, expected in 2025, would actually go back to the surface of the moon. And as we anticipate the return to the moon for the first time in more than 50 years, there are a few steps that need to be taken before we get there.
Yeah, that's right. Denver 7's Jessica Crawford is live with us now to break down how this launch will unfold today and just how historic this moment is. Jessica.
Yeah, absolutely groundbreaking moment. NASA's preparing to launch its most powerful rocket yet. Artemis I won't have any people aboard, but the mission is still high stakes. That's because if it's successful, we could be one step closer to sending humans to the moon once again. So for now, all eyes are on Artemis I for a successful flight. The first mission will take 42 days to complete before splashdown back on Earth. And if all goes well on this test flight come 2024, we're going to the moon to stay. NASA's goal is to establish a permanent space station that's orbiting the moon. It's going to be called Gateway. From there, astronauts could land on the moon, but it would also be a base for manned space travel to Mars and beyond. Standing 36 stories high and packing 8.8 million pounds of thrust, the Space Launch System will send the Orion space capsule racing towards the moon. Orion set to orbit the moon for up to 23 days with systems aboard gathering data with the help of its Moonican testing radiation levels. Crews are already training for this, and Artemis II will send the first woman and the first person of color to the moon.
This mission being successful is a sign to the world and to the American people that we've been doing our best with your resources, and so thank you. We owe them that.
So there are some things to watch out for here. NASA did tweet about a hydrogen leak that they are troubleshooting. If the hydrogen concentration becomes too high, they may not be able to launch today. There is a 2-hour launch window to hit lunar orbit, so if things don't take off today, NASA will try again on Friday.
They have had a couple test launches scrubbed already because of, I think, the hydrogen leak as well.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. We got a 2-hour window. We're hoping.
Yeah. They're not sure if the same thing that caused it last time is causing it this time. They're still trying to sort that out.
Right. All right.
Time will tell.
Clock is ticking. Yep.
Well, and of course, as you mentioned, the Orion spacecraft built here in Colorado by Lockheed Martin. You may not know Colorado has the nation's second largest aerospace economy. Take a look at some of these numbers. More than 34,000 people are employed by Colorado aerospace companies. The Colorado Space Coalition's company directory includes more than 500 aerospace companies and suppliers. 9 of the nation's top aerospace contractors have significant operations here in our state. Colorado's aerospace companies develop products and systems for commercial, military, and government applications. One great example is Sierra Space in Louisville. It's working on a new commercially owned space station called the Orbital Reef Project. It will be a place for research and industrial uses and even tourism.
It is now 5:10, and back here on Earth, it's going to be a beautiful, very bright start to our day. Here's a look at your bus stop forecast. Mid-60s here early on. We'll see plenty of sunshine. We'll see this afternoon dry conditions, low to mid-80s by the time your kids get home later on today. It's going to be a pretty toasty afternoon and pretty warm all week long, Jason. So for some of those DPS kids and those hot old buildings, hopefully the fans are going.
Yeah, that's right. Right now we do have a pretty good drive. We do have a minor crash on the outbound side or towards I-70 side of DIA as you'd be making your way past Tower Road. The rest of the drive actually looks okay, including up into Boulder. Not seeing any problems up there right now.
Well, can you think of the last time a movie ticket cost you less than $5? Coming up, a deal this weekend for Labor Day weekend that's aimed at helping support our neighborhood theaters.
Also, a record sale. How many millions of dollars this baseball card went for over the weekend? It was the biggest sports memorabilia purchase ever.